You're watching Rurouni K95's anime review on Tokyo Ghoul. Hi Ruronis, this is your pal Rurouni K95 here. Today's anime review, we get to cover an anime series from 2014 for today's anime review is Tokyo Ghoul. Tokyo Ghoul is basically a Japanese dark fantasy manga series written and illustrated by Sui Ishida. It was serialized in Shueisha Seinen manga magazine, which is Weekly Young Jump, between September 2011 and September 2014, and was collected into 14 tankobon volumes. A prequel titled Tokyo Ghoul Jack ran online on Jump Live in 2013 and was collected in a single tankobon volume. A sequel titled Tokyo Ghoul was serialized in Weekly Young Jump between October 2014 and July 2018 and was collected into 16 tankobon volumes. So I know there are some other Tokyo Ghoul anime titles like Tokyo Ghoul Re and Check A on there. So, but I'm have to do a discussion on Tokyo Ghoul Season 1 anime series as well. So, without any further ado, let's review the anime series Tokyo Ghoul, which it only has 12 episodes from July 4th to September 19th, 2014. So, let's review this. Let's begin here. So, for the story on there, for the most part, Tokyo Ghoul's storytelling is how to expect of how it's given in the story, how what it is about, to explain what it is about what Tokyo Ghoul is as well. It explored the different aspects of the ghoul community and made its point simple and conscious, although that's about it. There isn't anything too fancy or well done with its storytelling. Tokyo Ghoul is quick to establish the lore with wards and sectors, the doves, anti-ghoul police, and different types of ghouls, particularly what you see in Tokyo Ghoul. But that is the question, though. The last point emphasis by Anteiku, and it's here that Kaneki spends most of his time deliberating between his new and unique situation. The plot itself didn't seem to be headed in any clear direction as well. Yeah. But splits into itself in a different mini plots, similar to a different story arcs in the manga, if you ever read the original manga as well. As Kaneki observes the different ghouls coming in and out out of the cafe, and learns their own perspective of being a ghoul. By this time, while this in itself is fine, it creates other problems for the character development and overall pacing. This is the clear at the show's 9th episode where there is a ghoul invasion in one of the other wards. It's clear that this is a climax of the show, and yet it feels blatantly out of place from the mini arc format the show was using so far. There was hardly any building leading up to the massive invasion, and the last 4 episodes seems to compress as much content to expect seeing of how they were doing it, particularly by given how many plot lines or the content for any certain episode for an anime series like Tokyo Ghoul, particularly as well. Yeah. But that is the question, though, particularly for the anime series like Tokyo Ghoul, particularly, as possible as by amping up the pace. Shown by the sudden high stakes and side characters being quickly introduced, the clear ending was very rushed. Simply, the show's plot lacked focus. It did not take advantage of the interesting premise they had to work with, because two or less of the other credibility if they would have ever worked, but not only how they were doing for the creative work that'll stand the test of time when they were working on how especially about how Tokyo Ghoul represents, particularly if you ever see the anime series, or if you ever watched any certain episode from Tokyo Ghoul, particularly as well, because this is like your typical anime series from 2014. What Tokyo Ghoul is, and for that's the only credibility of whatever they had. But that is the question, though. Two are less than the satisfactory results for to how explain how given in the title for Tokyo Ghoul particularly, but anybody that would explain tell what it is about what Tokyo Ghoul is particularly as well. There's not any complaints here on the art. The animation is slick and smooth. The very few fights and battles are nice to watch. The weapons, Queenie and the Kagune, were an interesting concept for the show, particularly of how you expect seeing it in Tokyo Ghoul as well. Come to think of it, were an interesting concept for the show, and they were enough to different types to show off. The show intended to lean toward more vivid colors in its art style and wasn't afraid to use full range of colors, which I thought it was a good decision for the show to make. The characters themselves are distinct from another in their art design and color, and I particularly liked how a character's color was associated with their personality. It's a welcome change from other anime where characters look way too similar to one another than any other certain anime in general. When it comes to current anime titles from 2014, for like the ones particularly like Tokyo Ghoul, particularly for this particular anime series as well. I mean, to explain about how it's given in the title, particularly to explain what it is about Tokyo Ghoul, which is one of the most newer current anime title hits in the 2014 as well. To explain what it is, particularly as well. Come to think of it, Tokyo Ghoul is one of the newer ones as well. And the characters, however, in Tokyo Ghoul, here is where Tokyo Ghoul suffers from the most and ultimately hinders enjoyment of the show. The show has a lot of side characters. A new character is introduced maybe every 1 or 2 episodes, and none of these characters get enough screen time and character development at this point as it was intended to have character development or the profile as well for any certain character in Tokyo Ghoul. The fault of this is partly due to its one color situation, but it's also because of the mini plot format of the show. A new character is introduced who interacts with Kaneki in some way before being pushed to the sidelines in a couple of episodes later, and a new character takes the stage to its to the map how they take it to the max in particularly in Tokyo Ghoul. But there is barely any explosion for the side characters, and the way they were simply dumped to the side until the climax arc in the 9th episode was simply how lazy it was. As to expect what is going on in episode 9 of Tokyo Ghoul, particularly as well. The main characters themselves are regrettably two-dimensional. Kaneki's initial panic with his newfound situation was acceptable at first, but he never grew out of the timidness despite the ambivalent characters and small setting he was confined to. Unfortunately, the lack of development for the side characters also meant Kaneki's character development also suffered as a result. Kaneki always himself always has seems to be in helpless situations which he can't get out of it, particularly which is almost not in a good way, particularly what you expect seeing what is going on in Tokyo Ghoul, or if you ever watch Tokyo Ghoul especially. The only ounce of the character development is during Hanami's arc in episode 3, where he sees that there are ghouls who don't wish to kill people. His entire character is just a tease to the final episode, which is basically episode 12 for Tokyo Ghoul, where he goes all badass, and even that itself is a almost to have the credibility to expect what is going on, which it wasn't wanted to see from the show, particularly if you ever either watched the show or if you ever read the original manga, which is either from the other way around, one way or the other as well. I can tell, and for the enjoyment. I could tell you all this. If you switch off your brain, you mostly likely enjoy the show. It doesn't do anything new or unique within its own genre. I mean, the battles are cool, characters are predictable, and the setting is interesting enough. But if you are looking for something or of a higher quality caliber, then this show isn't as it intended to explain for a series what it is for Tokyo Ghoul. I was strung along the entire show thinking the next episode is going to have more action, or at this time Kaneki is going to do something. The show left me with the blue balls, just waiting for the moment the show would have present some sort of meaningful sequence or a badass fight scene. I was sorely expect what how to the credibility for this anime series to explain what it is, what you see in Tokyo Ghoul, if you ever watch the show, especially. The final episode has some element of the exploration of mortality and choice, and it was a level I was satisfied with, and something I expect to see from the first episode. Yes, this wasn't the case, as it was. But hey, if anything else, it was a decent Thursday night filler show, as it was, and I expect to see what is going on in Tokyo Ghoul. Better than Glassip, that's for sure, but if not the other way around, but that's not what I meant. But the point is that the final episode did have an edge on me. Even if the characters are two-dimensional, the execution and the presentation of the final episode was able to convey a suspenseful tone, which regrettably did not appear in any other of the episode. I suppose it's simply another typical shonen anime as well. But overall, I admit enjoying it enough, though. It wasn't anything special in the end, but it's an awesome show I love to watch. But if you're looking for something to pass the time, if you want to watch an anime to give it a watch at some point, if you are expecting any level of depth that you won't be able to expect what is going on, as explained before, the show had a lot of potential in presenting the different aspects, almost and perspective between the ghouls and humans, and failed to capitalize almost quick at this point. Unfortunately, in the end of the show is average as best, but if it wasn't the fault of the staff entirely, as it could have been fed for more episodes, but the adaptation from the source material was mismanaged. For all its visual style, it could not have saved the show from muddling storytelling, as it was to have, as it intended for a storytelling of how to expect to see what is going on, particularly if you ever watch Tokyo Ghoul anime series, particularly as well. So the thing about Tokyo Ghoul is this is particularly one of the most unique shows that I've ever seen, that I've watched before. Despite that, this anime series only encapsulates only 12 episodes on there, which is basically season 2. As it was to many other anime titles under the Tokyo Ghoul media thing for the anime, for this particular anime review, like Tokyo Ghoul Re or Tokyo Squared A as well. If I get to cover one of those, like either of the two, but that'll be for the future anime reviews, which is probably for the most part as well. But I have to discuss about the Tokyo Ghoul 2014 anime series as well, because this is one of the most anime series of 2014, which is up until My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer arrived as well. If you haven't seen Tokyo Ghoul, I highly recommend you can watch it on Hulu, or if you can get it on DVD or Blu-ray that is released by Funimation as well, because it's been a while since I watched this series. So that's going to be it for my anime review on Tokyo Ghoul for today's anime review. Thank you for watching, but before we go, here's my thoughts on this. When I first watched Tokyo Ghoul, I really admired that it was the overwhelmed by the power in Tokyo Ghoul of how you expect if it has more episodes, but it basically 12 episodes for this 2014 anime series like Tokyo Ghoul. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you can watch it either on Hulu or you can get it on DVD and Blu-ray that is released by Funimation. Hope subscribe for content. My anime planet link in the description below. You can share this video on your Twitter, Facebook if you have Twitter and Facebook account, all social media. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up by clicking on the like button in this video. Feel free to leave in the comments section. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, RuRoniK95. Feel free to join my channel, especially new to my channel. Hit the notifications bell button. Keep it otaku for this anime review. We got another anime review next here. Stay tuned for my next anime review. I got another anime review for tomorrow's anime review on Iria Zeiram the Animation. Stay tuned for my next anime review on Iria Zeiram the Animation, because you won't want to miss another anime review.